Pardon the interruption, but I'm Mike Wilbon. Two giant trades in the NBA, Tone. What's the biggest deal you've ever been a part of?
I'm Tony Kornheiser, the Lufthansa heist back in '78.
Oh, okay.
I feel I can talk about it now because the statute of limitations is out. This is more than 40 years.
I was going to say we're going on 50 years.
I think it's 40.
You know,
I think the statute of limitation might be 40.
Yeah.
Lufthansa heist. As heists go, kids.
Residual?
Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, LeBron has a new teammate. De'Aaron Fox has a new team. Rory McIlroy has a new trophy. But we begin today with the stunning trade of Anthony Davis for LUKA DONCIC that was pulled off late Saturday night to the shock of all. We've had a couple of days to consider all of it. Wilbon, does it make sense to you that the Mavericks dealt away Luka, and what does this do for them?
You know, when you first asked that question, it's a great question, Tony. And the answer is no. It doesn't make any sense. That's why all of us were so stunned and we're running around calling people and asking other folks, was Shams hacked? Was his account hacked? We don't believe this, even having said it out loud. But now you said we have some hours,
That's right.
to look at it. And it makes sense in this way. If you're going to keep LUKA DONCIC and you're the Dallas Mavericks, you're going to have to sign him to a supermax deal worth about $350 million over 5 years. To do that, you want a guy who you think is as committed as is humanly possible, is as great, is as maximizing of his skills as, over time, Russell and Alcindor Jabbar and as Magic Bird and as Jordan and as Kobe and as LeBron. You want somebody that committed. Luka's not that. He hasn't been that. As great as he's a global icon, but he comes in overweight. He's overweight all the time. He's not in condition. He doesn't have that kind of detail about himself that, say, LeBron James, Tom Brady, that those champions have had. Mm-hmm. And so you're saying, wait a minute. You don't have that. Why am I going to commit this to you? And that's what Nico Harrison did and has done. And I understand it, but it's hard to reconcile. And I don't know that I would have had the courage to do that.
Yeah. We're going to have differing opinions on this, as you well know, because we've had private conversations. I've watched this network and other networks and seen dozens of people hysterically reacting to this particular trade. As you know, I'm sort of contrarian about it. I think it is a great trade for Dallas in the short term.
Yes, I know.
In the short term, I think it's a great trade. I think Dallas can win the NBA championships because of this trade this year. I think that Anthony Davis, when he's on the court, is a terrific two-way big man.
Yep, he is.
And they have a championship point guard. I don't know that I want to go to dinner with Kyrie Irving, but I know what he can do on a court. Yeah. He's got a ring. LUKA DONCIC does not have a ring. He's got a ring. And with Luka out of the way, it's going to be his show, and we have seen him do this. Plus, they have Klay Thompson, who they didn't have last year.
That's right.
And Anthony Davis's presence on the court is going to get more shots for Klay Thompson. Having said all this, I think that the general manager who made this trade ultimately will be fired because of this trade, because the trade is insane. Okay?
Even if they win,
even if they win, he will be fired in a little bit longer time. The trade is insane. You cannot trade a 25-year-old player who may be the best player in the world. You cannot do this on any macro level. You just can't do this. So I think he will lose his job as a result of this. But I do think in the short term, I think it's good for Dallas. And not a lot of people saying that.
I don't disagree with you. There are a few people. You and one of your faves, you and Kendrick Perkins, and Charles Barkley, you guys have voiced this all day today. Hey, hold on, Sparky. Don't. Yeah. There are people who have said, and by the way, people in Texas, North Texas, are angry in the main. Yeah. They just lost box office. Nobody's put down $1 to go and see Anthony Davis outside Chicago, where he's from, but you pay money, good money, to see Luka. And in Dallas, in North Texas, they're not happy.
Mike, I'm just going to say that all those things you've said, all of these things that are being leaked by Dallas management against Luka, I'm not saying they're wrong.
Right.
I think they are leaking these things in order to take the focus off the fact that this is an utterly destructive trade in the long term for Dallas. That's what I'm saying.
You know that you are contradicting yourself essentially when you say they can win. And by the way,
short term,
you make a great case.
Short term, long term. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Whew. Let's focus in on the Lakers half of this thing. Doncic has called LeBron his idol. And our man Brian Windhorst says LeBron has dreamed about playing with Luka for years. The team currently sits 1 game out of 4th in the West and 3.5 out of 8th. LeBron has 1 year left on his deal and a no-trade clause. Tone, what does this deal do for the Lakers both this year and beyond?
Listen carefully, you're going to hate what I say. We've had a couple of days to digest this. I find it still most remarkable that the Lakers did not inform or consult
How about that?
LeBron James about this trade. This is LeBron James. This is a bar of gold. What are you talking about? Now, I understand the story. The story is if they tell LeBron, he goes to his boy, Rich Paul.
Who's also Anthony Davis' agent.
Anthony Davis' agent, and it complicates everything. But I think it's possible that they all knew. I think it's possible this gives them cover so that they don't have to say anything bad when Anthony Davis said, you sold me out. Okay, but that's small stuff. Here is the big stuff. It's a fantastic trade in the long term for the Lakers. It gives the Lakers a young superstar in the Laker tradition of Kareem, of Magic, of Kobe. Young. This guy's not LeBron's age. He is a young player at this point. I think that the only other person in the entire league that you might make this trade for, other than Luka, is Wembanyama. And I'm not sure right now you would do that. That's a great trade for them.
It is a great trade, and it's in another tradition of the Lakers, of trading, of acquiring great players. They don't really draft them other than Magic, and Kobe was sort of drafted. It was a trade on draft night, whatever. But you go back and you mention, Wilt was a trade. Kareem was a trade. Shaq was a free agent, but it was essentially a trade. And, of course, LeBron is a trade. Anthony Davis is a trade. This is what the Lakers do.
That's right.
This is the business of the L.A. Lakers. So they got a global superstar. There's a great story.
25. He's 25.
He's 25 years
He'll be
old.
there for 10 years.
There's a great story about Luka early in his career. I don't know if he's a rookie, but he's playing in this game, and he hears somebody speaking in Slovenian behind him. This game is at Staples Center. And he turns around to see who is speaking Slovenian, his native language, and it's Kobe Bryant.
Oh, sure, because he knows like 9 languages.
And Kobe is speaking to, and Kobe enjoyed this and loved it. And he's sitting there, and he too loved Luka. How many endorsements can you get for people, for icons who love Luka? But, Tony, this better be a slap in the face. This better inform him you've been dealt. You may be the alpha male, but somebody, and by the way, it's going to cost him $100+ million.
I know, because he doesn't get
contractually.
I understand.
You can get the endorsement.
He'll get that down the
money
road.
back in LA.
Look, I'm going to say this. I am most interested in LeBron's reaction to this. I know what LeBron has said. I want the dust to settle a little bit. I want to see if he's happy about this, because what the Lakers have just said to LeBron essentially is this: we know how we can move on without you. You're in our rearview mirror right now. Now, it is said that he loves Luka, and Luka loves him. This is the first time in LeBron's career he's ever had a teammate as good or better than him. I hope it works out great, but I think there ought to be some trepidation as to how it's going to work out. Just some.
Just some. I know there's some skepticism, and I would love it if LeBron had walked into Rich Paul and said, look, I'm going to waive the no trade.
I'm going.
Why don't you call Golden State?
Yeah, get me to Golden State.
Let's get Steph Curry and Draymond
are you
online,
Are you off that now?
No.
Oh, you're not off that
yet? I don't think it will happen. I want
well, you've been calling
for
a month.
I want it to happen. By the way, you want a decree that all of the Laker games are going to be on television.
If I ran this network or TNT and I saw my schedule, I'd rip my schedule up and say every Laker game. That's all I want. Laker games. That's all I want. Let's talk about another NBA trade. No, not Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler's still on ice.
Yeah.
This trade essentially sent De'Aaron Fox from Sacramento to San Antonio and sent Zach LaVine from Chicago to Sacramento. Chicago got a few rotation players and their own first-round pick back from San Antonio. Wilbon, what does this trade do for the prospects of all the teams involved?
Okay, one team matters here. I know Zach LaVine is having his best year of his career. He goes to Sacramento to re-team with his Bulls backcourt made in the last couple of years. The Bulls get a first-round pick. God knows they need that, among other things. None of that matters. What matters is De'Aaron Fox going to San Antonio to play with Victor Wembanyama. That's where he wanted to go. And he didn't demand anything. He did this a little differently.
He's not in a position to demand.
Right, no, but he did it a little differently. He gets his wish. He goes there, just a great player in general, a great pick-and-roll player. He goes there, Tony, and Victor Wembanyama should be thrilled. Because you got now, by the way, this affects Dallas going all the way back to our lead, because Dallas better win now. You got that short-term window because you got OKC, Houston, and now San Antonio in Dallas's backyard, and they're coming to get the Mavericks.
Yeah, no.
But this trade is great for San Antonio.
My first line that I wrote today to take notes on this is a great trade for Victor Wembanyama. This is the end of Chris Paul, and I don't mean this in a bad way.
No, it's not.
Wait. Chris Paul has helped Wembanyama. But Chris Paul is too old to go 35 or 40 minutes a game. De'Aaron Fox can go 35 or 40 minutes a game. He's going to score a lot more than Chris Paul, and he's going to assist. He averages 6 assists a game in Sacramento.
Chris like third in the league in assists.
I'm just saying that this is Wembanyama.
Yes.
He is going to be, De'Aaron Fox is going to be the vehicle through which Wembanyama realizes all of his potential.
Yes.
So it's great trade for him. Zach LaVine is going to score the same amount of points in Sacramento because he averages 24 and Fox averages 25. And he's a much better three-point shooter than Fox is. So I have this as a net even for Sacramento, a net positive for San Antonio by far. And Chicago, my reaction is, are they still in the league? Because they don't matter in this trade.
They haven't been. And another thing about San Antonio, they didn't have to give up any of their principles.
Right.
That's right. Keldon Johnson. They kept my man Castle from UConn, who I think, if I'm Sacramento, I'm not making any deal with San Antonio unless I get Stephon Castle, who I think is going to be a truly great player. I don't want to go SGA great, but he's on that page. He's a guy that you say, no, we're keeping this guy because he can be great for a while.
Have you noticed who's sitting 7 through 12 in the West right now?
Yeah.
Okay, so Minnesota's at 7. They were conference finalists. The Suns, with your alleged superstars, are 8. 9 is Dallas. Finalists last year. Then Sacramento, then Golden State, 4 rings, and then San Antonio. Will this give San Antonio the buoyancy to get into the playoffs?
We've talked about all this. We haven't done with Jimmy Butler saying he won't re-sign with the Golden State.
You can bring that up
touch on that
in the second hour. Let's take a break. Coming up, John Calipari beat Kentucky in his... Trying to find out what's popping with the populace. I'll put on my glasses and I'll get the first one. Here we go.
Glasses quickly.
Which was the most compelling result of the college basketball weekend?
All right. Now, I suspect that, everybody wants me to talk about Duke and Duke's win over North Carolina, which was a non-game very quickly. So I turned it off.
Okay.
And I'm going a little off-road to the great Midwest, of course, where in the state of Kansas, which produced a twin situation, Kansas State beat third-ranked Iowa State by 19 in Ames, where they had won 29 straight games.
Is that right?
Cyclones. They were 17-3. They were rolling. And at the same time, 11th-ranked Kansas loses to unranked Baylor, getting outscored 60-30 in the second half, blowing a 21-point lead, the biggest lead loss in the history of Jayhawks basketball. Those are sizable results involving the two schools in the state of Kansas, the great basketball state of Kansas.
Forgive me for what I'm about to say.
What?
And I watched Duke, North Carolina. You're right. It was not a game. It was like 40-5 early on. And I caught a little bit of Kansas losing, and I certainly watched sizable amount of Iowa State losing. I paid attention to Calipari going back to Kentucky.
Winning.
I'll tell you something.
Winning.
Yeah, I didn't expect him to win. I'll tell you something. The fact that Mark Pope came over to him pre-game and embraced him, that was so classy.
It was.
That was so classy. But then yesterday, on my way to find something else on the dial, I ended up at an Iowa-USC game.
Oh, yeah.
Women's basketball, Iowa-USC. Now, USC ranked 4th with Juju Watkins, right? Iowa, I got the last 4 minutes. Iowa up 8, 10, 12. Iowa wins. What made it special? Caitlin Clark is standing there. They're retiring her jersey. She's watching the whole thing. The former coach standing there as well. It was, Mike, it was an unexpected delight.
Very cool.
Unexpected delight.
Very cool
you
treat.
Read.
I got to read?
You read. It's your turn.
Is somebody whispering that in your ear?
It's in my ear.
What does Rory's win at Pebble say to you about the state of his game?
Okay, so he's really solid and strong. Like, he had a great tournament. On the weekend, including terrible wind and rain on Saturday, he only had 1 bogey on the weekend. He made all of his putts, it seemed to me, inside of 5 feet. He drove the ball really well. He starts Sunday 1 stroke behind Straka, but he's sort of kind of in a bunch with his Euro Ryder Cup teammates, with Shane Lowry, with Justin Rose, both of whom might have won majors, and Rory beat them.
He beat him.
Rory beat them. Rory shot 66, which was better than anybody who was close to him. They didn't lose this tournament. Rory won the tournament. This is Pebble Beach. This is a prestigious tournament, and he owned it. And I think the state of his game is really good right now.
We're so wrapped up in the basketball trades. I forgot to call you yesterday, which I was going to do because I watched a big chunk of the final round, just to say to you, this is why you don't give a damn, or I don't, about golf in a studio. This is why I'm not watching TGL.
I understand.
Because when you see Pebble, I know what the 7th hole looks like.
Yeah.
I know what 16 looks like. I know what 17 looks like. And I sure as hell know what 18 looks like. That's why you watch. You watch because you got this unbelievable piece of geography out there.
Yes.
And you've got famous
100%.
players like Rory McIlroy, and it's got to mean more than making a putt on some undulated thing in a stadium. No. Just stop with that now.
Not everything is Pebble, though. Like week after week, it's not all Pebble.
Okay, but when you get Pebble, nothing else compares.
Yes.
And the weather yesterday in the 60s and sunny, I know.
Saturday,
we've been able to play, fortunate enough to both of us to play at Pebble Beach. It doesn't mean anything for Rory. The one thing, it means something to Rory. Only one thing, the Masters. That's
to get the Grand Slam.
Come on, that's anything else.
I think it's a prestigious tournament. I think you got to be happy.
It's great.
Enough. Happy time, people. Happy 80th birthday, Bob Greasy. The Hall of Fame quarterback guided the Miami Dolphins to 3 straight Super Bowls, losing the first, winning the next 2. Greasy was at the helm of the 1972 Dolphins, who are the only NFL team to win every one of their games. Greasy was the NFL's MVP in 1971, led the league in passing touchdowns in 1977.
Wow.
But with all of his honors, starting with being an All-American at Purdue, Greasy is not thought of the way his contemporaries Bart Starr and Roger Staubach are. And those Dolphins teams are remembered more for the running backs, Larry Zonka and Jim Kick, for Mercury Morris, for the no-name defense, and of course for Don Shula.
Sadly, it's all about the numbers. In 2 Super Bowl victories, Greasy was 14 for 18. That's it. He threw 18 passes. That's 2 drives for Patrick Mahomes.
He handed off to a running back.
He handed it off. They won the game.
Did they win?
But he doesn't get the love. He should.
Won. Happy anniversary, John Harbaugh. On this day 12 years ago, Harbaugh coached the Ravens to a Super Bowl win over his younger brother Jim, who was coaching the 49ers. That win is likely why Lamar Jackson takes a lot more heat for the Ravens' recent playoff failures than Harbaugh does. Harbaugh's been head coach in Baltimore for 17 seasons, 1 fewer than the longest tenured coach, Mike Tomlin, across the division in Pittsburgh. Andy Reid is 3rd with 12 seasons in Kansas City. 4th, 5th, and 6th are Sean McDermott in Buffalo, Sean McVay with the Rams, Kyle Shanahan with the 49ers. All 3 were hired in 2017. The division with the oldest grouping of coaches is the AFC West, where Jim Harbaugh and Sean Payton are 60, Reid is 66, and Pete Carroll is.
The Harbaughs, is Jim going to get one? Is he going to even it up with his brother?
I think. Don't you?
I think so.
He's a really good coach. I think he will. A melancholy trails to Fay Vincent. Vincent, who died yesterday at 86, was brought into baseball by his good friend Bart Giamatti and succeeded Giamatti as commissioner when Giamatti died suddenly in 1989. Giamatti and Vincent shared a love for baseball and its place in American culture. Vincent was commissioner for 3 tumultuous years when a group of angry owners forced him out and replaced him with one of their own, Bud Selig. It was Vincent's decision to respectfully postpone the resumption of the World Series between the Giants and A's for 10 days after the San Francisco earthquake. Owners felt this was too long. Vincent suspended Yankee owner George Steinbrenner for improper conduct regarding his player Dave Winfield. Vincent was probably best known for banning Pete Rose for baseball for life after Rose admitted gambling on the game when he managed. Vincent, above all, had a conscience.
You chronicled, just Vincent wasn't commissioner for very long.
No.
But so much happened in his tenure. You would think he was commissioner for a decade or more.
3 years.
There was just news constantly.
3 years is all. Big finish, here we go.
Let's do it.
Myles Garrett has requested a trade out of Cleveland. That's a big deal.
Yes, this guy's a defensive player of the year. He may be the best defensive player in football, and he hadn't turned 29 yet. I can think of a destination for him, Tom. Chip Kelly's leaving Ohio State, to become offensive coordinator of the Raiders. Your thoughts?
A little bit surprised, although they won. Maybe he wanted to go. Maybe he's friends with Pete Carroll. I don't know. 6-time WNBA All-Star DeWanna Bonner leaving the Sun for the Fever in free agency. Huge pickup.
Yes, but the amount of movement in the WNBA right now is wow. The Wizards, your Wizards,
Yep.
beat the T-Wolves, snapped that 16-game losing streak you ripped last week.
Yep.
Give them some love.
No. Anthony Edwards, Julius Randle didn't play in the game. Last one, your Commanders will not be changing their name. Are you disappointed as I am?
I'm not. I know you are. No,
I am.
Josh Harris, he couldn't do that. You can't change it again.
Why?
It's not his fault. It changed it twice already before he became the owner.
3 for $1.
No.
I mean, why wouldn't you do it? We're out of time. Try and do better the next time. I'm Tony Kornheiser.